Good evening. This is Art Motley. This is discussion board number 3 in HIWD 435. Today's topic is For Their Spiritual Good by Jonathan Edwards. Um, Edwards viewed himself as part of an international reform evangelistical movement that saw awakening as God's greatest works in the current age. Um, in For Their Spiritual Good, the Northampton, Massachusetts prayer bids of the 1730s and the 1740s, it is basically uh, notes and pieces of paper that was slipped to Edwards as prayer requests um, by the congregation of the church that he pastored there in Northampton. They were asking for prayer from the congregation um, for deaths of children, deaths of spouses, and even for the blessings that they had received during that time. It was a financially challenged time, not only for them, but as we see, it was also a challenge for other areas as well. Isaac Watts and John Guise, in their preface to the London edition of Fateful Narratives, hailed Northampton's events as a sign of how easy it will be for our blessed Lord to make a full accomplishment of all his predictions concerning his kingdom. Um, they used that because Edwards had uh, been teaching the gospel to his congregation for many years there. As we see Edwards, that is according to Marsden, who's the author of The Life of Jonathan Edwards, A Life, and are the textbooks that we're using this semester. Um, but what we also see is that from a different standpoint, I'd like to examine how one of his most powerful messages affected not only Northampton, but as well as when he preached it in Enfield. When he preached it in Northampton, the turnout wasn't as great, and when he taught it in Enfield, however, because Edwards uh, taught with such conviction, and I believe that the people had not been used to that kind of preaching, that they immediately cried out and wanted to be saved. And according to various sources, the numbers are different, but some say as many as 300 people were converted at that time. Whitfield, who was also George Whitfield, he was a young Anglican priest, and he had been teaching for crowds for many thousands outdoors in England during this time. And he was coming to Northampton, and he was coming to New England, and Edwards reached out to him to come and preach there as well. And not only that, but to spend time in his home, and he felt blessed to have him there. But getting back to the different the effects that it had in Enfield, the sinners in the hand of an angry God. The turnout was just so great, and people, immediately cried out to God and wanted to know how to be saved. It was such a uproar that Edwards had to stop and kind of get himself together to continue his message. I believe that, as they say, that this was the beginning of the evangelistical movement. Uh, we still see those same things going on even today, in places where the gospel has not been taught. As we went to Kenya, and the outpour was just so great there. We went there and had an opportunity to share the gospel, with the natural citizens there in the Maasai tribes and places where the gospel had not been taught, and it was a wonderful time. So even today, the movement that Edward started way back then is still being effective today. Thank you.